Welcome to the Beatles Talk Show. Today is March 6th. Here's some cool Beatle facts through history that all happened on this specific day. In 1963, on March 6th, the Beatles appeared at the Playhouse Theatre in Manchester to record their fifth and final appearance on that particular BBC radio program called Here We Go.
What did
And they performed I Saw Her Standing There, Misery, Do You Want to Know a Secret, and Please Please Me.
Nice, good song.
Nice lineup of early cuts from their first album they were promoting, which was #1 at the time. On this date in 1964, the Beatles are still filming footage for their first movie, A Hard Day's Night, and they're filming on the train today, that's right. And on the same day in 1965, the Beatles were in the Bahamas filming their second movie. They've been doing this for over a week now, and now they're filming scenes at the airport. And on this date in 1966, I know you'll like this one.
What happened there?
The British Prime Minister Harold Wilson received a petition with 5,000 signatures from the public asking for the Cavern Club to be reopened in Liverpool.
Now, Harold Wilson was the Prime Minister, obviously. So what happened with that? When did they actually reopen the cavern, rebuild the cavern? I can't remember.
So that didn't happen until way like the 90s, I think.
I think so.
So obviously this deal with
80s.
the Prime Minister said, it ain't happening. It's nothing to do with me. He probably didn't even deal with it.
Yeah, but then I remember an interview with John Lennon saying he wasn't going to vote for Harold again in the next election, so maybe that pissed him off. Who knows? What happened in '67? Something happened.
This is actually kind of a cool trivia tidbit. The Beatles were in the studio recording the Sgt. Pepper album, and on this day, they were working on the sound effects that would connect the Sgt. Pepper song to With a Little Help from My Friends. And the screaming actually came from an actual Beatles concert recorded at the Hollywood Bowl. And that's what you hear, the audience screaming on the Sgt. Pepper album.
At the very end of Sgt. Pepper before With Help from My Friends.
Yes.
Okay, what about the audience murmur at the beginning of the song? Is that the Hollywood Bowl as well before the show or not?
That I don't think so. That was probably just random tracks they had picked. Okay. They were splicing, their reel-to-reel tape, because that's what they were starting to get into. And John found this stuff very fascinating at that time about being creative. And of course George Martin was in there too, going, okay, we can do this stuff.
It's funny when they were actually, obviously they had to have played the tape from the Hollywood Bowl. This was 1967. It's funny they never got the idea of releasing that as an album back then, those concerts. Because they obviously were listening to
perhaps they had thought of it, but I would think they probably didn't at the time, because I think, obviously the Beatles stopped touring for a reason. They knew that they weren't doing a good job live, and they probably had a sour taste in their mouth about these live shows, thinking that they were actually not very good. So the Beatles themselves probably wouldn't have wanted to release that material.
And I guess too, it was the psychedelic era, so all that screaming, frenzied fans pretty much had died down amongst rock bands.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a kids band or something.
Yeah. On this date in 1970, in the UK, the Beatles single Let It Be was released. It would go on to hit #2 in the UK. And one of their classic songs, written and sung by Paul McCartney. That's right.
And what was the B-side?
Oh, You Know My Name, Look Up the Number.
That's a weird little song, isn't it?
Yes, and actually bringing that song up, that song was edited down to make the single. It was actually twice as long, and they went through even more different styles of music. And one section of the song in the original full-length, 7-minute version, they played some ska music, which was unheard of for a rock band to play ska, but it's there. So if you hunt out the rare unedited bootleg version of that song, you'll hear that.
So it was originally a 9-minute song is what you're saying?
Really long, yeah.
Wow.
And of course they kept kind of the catchier, funny vocal parts for the
You Know
actual
My
single.
Name, Look Up the Number. Yeah, very strange, actually.
Yeah. On this date in 1975, they found out that Yoko was pregnant. And of course, Sean Lennon would be born at the end of the year.
That's right.
And on this date in 1976, in the UK, they re-released the Beatles singles box set, 1962 to 70, featuring 23 Beatles UK singles. And the Beatles originally released 22, but they added a 23rd single, and the song was Yesterday, which had never been released as a single in the UK, even though it was released as a single and was one of their biggest hits in America.
Isn't that something? You know what else happened in 1976? And I remember this as if it was yesterday. No pun intended. As if it was yesterday. Haha. But in 1976, 10 years after the fact, Got to Get You Into My Life by Paul McCartney was released as a single in the US and went to number 2 on the top 40 charts across America. It would have went to number 1, but that song, You Light Up My Life, kept it out of the number 1 spot. So 10 years later, the song hits number 2. One of my favorite McCartney songs. You know, he opened up his UK 1979 Wings UK tour with that song. I was alone, I took a ride, I didn't know what I would find there. Great tune by Powell, great vocals. Yeah.
Yep. All right, there you go. Some cool Beatle facts for the day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, see you guys.
So my dear friends, come back when you can.